Community Season 2 premiered September 23rd, 2010, and once again stars all the original cast from the first season. Not a single episode this season was actually written by Dan Harmon himself, but the good news is the writing is as good as ever in this season. A large portion of this season was also directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, the guys well known for directing Infinity War as well as some other fantastic Marvel films. This season features the gang back at Greendale for another year, and the group decides to all take anthropology together so they can remain a study group. Now, like I said before, this is my second time watching through this show, and while watching season 1, I was surprised by just how much character development there was. I was still eagerly waiting to get to season 2. Although I do love season 1, knowing what Community would become made me so much more excited to rewatch season 2. I can officially say that after a second rewatch, that season 2 of Community is even better than I remembered. I don't want to speak too soon, but I think season 2 of Community might be my favorite of the entire show. I'm willing to go as far as to say that season 2 of Community is one of the best seasons of comedy television I have ever watched. Community is known for its ability to create interesting stories that revolve around the meta-ness of its own creation. The character of Abed is essentially created to break the fourth wall without actually breaking the fourth wall. At this point in the show, there are numerous times where Abed references that they are in a TV show. Even some of the other characters like Jeff make references to being in a TV show, such as the Bottle episode. Community Season 1 was the tame version of this idea. Season 2 was an entirely different beast. Every single episode of this season is so perfectly handcrafted, it blows my mind. Each episode has its own gimmick, its own message, its own homage, and all of it is fantastic. There's not a single bad episode in this entire season, in my opinion. The very first episode of the season is a reference to how Jeff and Britta always fight, and the will they won't they of their relationship is getting old, and things need to change to not be like the last school year. It's interesting that every time they reference the last year in the show, they're really referring to the last season of the show. They're referring to how the characters in sitcoms evolve over the seasons through love interests or personality traits. There's a plethora of memorable and fantastic episodes in this season. The episode where Jeff learns to let go and not care so much about being perfect and healthy all the time, while the rest of the group tries convincing Pierce his mom isn't actually dead. The stories are all so fantastically intertwined with one another that the subjects of life and death are all so well written. As in the background of this episode, Abed can be seen delivering a baby, which is also referenced in one of the last episodes of the season. The Halloween ABBA zombie invasion episode, it's an homage / parody to zombie movies, and it's done in such a funny way. Having ABBA songs playing throughout the entire episode is a highlight. The entire episode is filmed like a movie almost and has twists and turns all throughout. This is also the episode where Shirley and Chang get it on in the bathroom, which is a running plot point this season. There's the interesting trampoline episode, a fantastic episode dealing with the feelings of masculinity and what it means to be a man, along with the Mean Girls parody side plot. This episode feels like there's so much more to it that even I can't understand. There's the fantastic episode where Annie loses her pen and the gang has an interrogation trying to find out who took it in a so-called Bottle episode. It's a great dive into the minds of all the characters and truly gave the writers a chance to shine and give some of the best lines in the entire season. I really love the episodes in Community that just focus on the study group interacting with one another. The episode where Troy turns 21 and they all go to the bar is another fantastic episode. The documentary Abed makes about Pierce being in the hospital is so funny, watching Donald Glover cry about meeting LeVar Burton. It's absolutely hilarious and easily one of my favorite moments in the entire show. The messages all the characters get from Pierce, especially Britta with her money and Jeff reconnecting with his dad, are all so well done. The episode that surprised me the most on a rewatch was the Christmas episode, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, in which Abed takes the group on a magical adventure in his head in claymation. This episode is absolutely fantastic. I remember liking it the first time I saw it, but rewatching it, I never truly realized how funny and heartwarming this episode really was. Seriously, the writing in this episode is fantastic, and it really makes me nostalgic for all those childhood Christmases. It's got a fantastic message that the meaning of Christmas is that it has meaning, and that meaning is different for everyone. It is such a charming episode. The animation is fantastic, the jokes are hilarious, the songs are amazing, and it had me with a huge smile on my face the entire time. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. This is like a feel-good episode that I could probably watch any time I was upset and instantly feel better. I'll definitely be rewatching this during the holidays. And of course, we cannot forget about the final 2 episodes, both paintball episodes. The first one, an homage to old school Western movies, even titled A Fistful of Paintballs, parodying A Fistful of Dollars. I honestly prefer this one to the final episode, which is an homage to Star Wars. I prefer the Western one because it really nails the homage in my opinion. The Western theme just works and it's directed and acted beautifully. It's absolutely hilarious and filmed almost like a real movie. That's what I love so much about Community, is that each episode doesn't feel like your standard average sitcom. Every episode feels so alive. And part of this has to do with the fact that each episode has its own theme going on. Each episode is so distinct and memorable, you could remember each episode based off what it was paying homage to. Another fantastic episode is the homage within the homage episode, where Abed and Jeff go on a dinner. You see, the paintball episodes are the ones that stick out the most as fun and entertaining, but on a rewatch, it's episodes like these that grab my attention the most. The message and ideas explored in this episode are fantastic. Abed talking about how his entire personality and everyone in society are just walking robots, spewing movie and TV references, not having real, deep, meaningful connections and conversations with anyone. And it turns out to all be an homage to My Dinner with Andre. And the funniest part of this episode is that Jeff has an entire Pulp Fiction surprise party planned for Abed, and the rest of the gang are all dressed up as characters from the movie. It's a perfect episode in my opinion that keeps the story and message front and center while also being hilarious and is perfectly filmed. The ending montage is actually really beautiful in my opinion. I've talked so much about the episodes in season 2 because that is what makes this season so fantastic. Yes, I could go on and on about the fantastic acting by everyone in the cast, but what takes Community season 2 up a level is what it was able to accomplish. It took itself to new heights only it was capable of reaching. It went places that no sitcom ever dared to go or has ever dared to go since. Each episode is so finely crafted by the writers and so perfectly executed by the cast that it makes for some of the most amazing and memorable seasons of television ever. They say it's a lot easier to say what you don't like about something rather than the things you do like. That's how I feel about season 2 of Community. I can't even find the words to explain how good this season is. I could make an in-depth review of every single episode of this season. That's how deep and complex some of the messages are. Season 2 of Community is endlessly rewatchable. From all the small jokes you missed the first time around to all the ones that you can't wait to watch again. The season ups the ante on every occasion. It's got more heart, it's got more charm, and it's got more laughs, more drama, and more Chang. Chang really took a backseat in season 1, but seeing him grow into more of a main member this season was awesome. He's easily one of the best side characters. The writers were also really able to hone in on what makes each of the main cast members' characters so likable and funny. The versions of the characters I remember most are from season 2. While season 1 did a great job of introducing us to the Fine Study group, season 2 grows on the development of some of characters like Jeff, his need for attention and his desire to be perfect. As seen in the episode with Rich trying to get into the group, you get the amazing speech by Jeff at the end of that episode talking to Rich. You've got great development of Britta, some fantastic progression of Abed, the downfall of Pierce, who seemingly has had enough of the group by the end of the season for the way he was treated throughout, the birth of Shirley's baby leading to a healing relationship with her and Andre, and Troy, who was funny as ever this season. The writers really beefed up his lines, and Donald Glover is a genius comedy actor. He's fantastic at what he does. Community Season 2 is nothing you've ever watched before. On the surface, it's just a standard TV sitcom with funny characters, funny jokes, and crazy situations, but deep down, it is so much more, and they truly created a beast that could not be contained this season. There is not a single thing I do not like about this season. It is easily my favorite of the show, one of my favorites ever. Season 2 was lightning in a bottle. It struck the right notes in terms of character, comedy, and wild and zany plotlines, situations, references, and homages. Community Season 2 is a perfect season of television in my eyes.